Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your den of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news, the week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Vatican Assassins is the world's first transpoetic comic scroll.
In the fold, between time and iteration, 5 warriors, empowered by magic and immortal skills, travel the universe, battling dark forces, fighting for a better tomorrow. Their job is to kill dictators, serial killers, and mass murderers in a covert war to stop an ancient evil called the Jinn. The Jinn are atrocity worshippers who are trying to create a single timeline of never-ending war. When the Vatican assassins win, the sun rises on a beautiful dawn, and when they fail, atrocity. This strike team family of immortal misfits, drawn from various eras, is the last line of defense against a war without end.
The next innovation in comics is here. Vatican Assassins.
Ladies and gentlemen, the team from the 23rd Archive is in the house.
That commercial was really good.
whoever did that commercial, you should. I think you should give them more money.
Probably.
We're all for that.
That's okay with us.
Person on the bottom here, because I don't need to be seen at you guys here. This is your show. So I know where we're gonna go at some point with this, because you guys are doing something with comics that is stretching the definition of sequential art while still keeping to it. And I'm intrigued by the concept. I've sat through some lectures with Scott McCloud about 20 years ago on doing things like this. And at the same time, I've never seen anybody follow through and pull it off. So
fingers crossed that we pull it off.
Yeah.
Yes. But you've got no choice now. You got to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're pretty close to funding, actually. So
I've been watching that. Yeah, you guys are about $360 away.
Yeah. So we're hoping to get that. We got 2 weeks. So we'll see.
All right, well, let's go around the room here and introduce each other to the audience so that I know who's doing what job. And Joe, we'll start with you, and then we'll move over to Shane and Nick because it makes absolutely no sense, and that's what I excel at.
My name's Joe Vasquez, and I'm the author-illustrator of Vatican Assassins. I've done a few other things like that in my day, but Vatican Assassins is probably the biggest thing I've done. So I've done a couple of Kickstarter alternate covers. I've done some webtoons, stuff like that. But Vatican Assassins is probably the most featured thing we've done.
Okay. And Shane, Nick?
I'm Shane. I'm the one of the composers and sound designers for the project. I'm also, I would consider myself one of the creative producers.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick?
And my name is Nick, and I am one of the music composers and videographers, social media content creatives for this.
So for the people who actually listen to the introduction, you can probably already tell this is not going to be your typical comic book, because why would you have these jobs involved in it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you yet. We're going to first, because I want to get people hooked on the story, and let's show the content before we scare people off with different container.
Yeah.
So who are the Vatican Assassins? Why are they? I mean, is this the Swiss Guard in action?
So the Vatican Assassins is, the name itself is a little misleading. I don't want people to think it's not religious based. It doesn't have a religious point to it. But what it is these are people who can travel between time and iteration. They sit between different variants of the universe. They sit between that space of the multiverse, and they have this structure called the bridge. And nobody knows who built it. Nobody knows where it came from, but they have managed to get onto it. They found a way to even at times extend it. And they're able to use this bridge. And when you think of bridge, think of a never-ending Eiffel Tower Victorian bridge structure that goes off in every direction. Just this insane, unending bridge. And it separates these realities. It's a structure that's been set up to kind of keep the worlds from collapsing in on itself. And the Vatican Assassins are a group of people who are trying to stop an ancient evil. There's always an ancient evil, right?
Always.
Has to
An
be.
ancient evil called the Jinn, who want to take the variants that have chaos and war and kind of merge them together until they get this one massive, unending misery universe.
Oh, they want to edit out the segments of peace and
Because they
battle.
feed off that. That's their food. So that's what they want. And the Vatican Assassins are a group of people who have learned how to kind of intervene. And what they do, in order for a Jinn to manifest in our world, it has to do it during an atrocity. It's a serial killer in his final moments. It's a mass murderer. Anytime you've heard of an unexplained, insane murder-suicide type thing, this is more than likely where a Jinn would come in. So all the crazy shooters, all the insanity the last 20 years that we've been dealing with, these are Jinn trying to get into our world, but according to the story, not in real life.
Sure. Well, okay, yeah.
And
And
assassins, their job is to stop that. So what they do is they stop dictators, serial killers, mass murderers, school shooters, and they come in and they ace them before they have this chance to manifest. And what the story is about these 5 individuals who, during one of their very typical missions, right? They go to stop a school shooter. In the process, the shooter and one of his victims falls into the bridge by accident. And that's where the story kind of picks up. And it's about them kind of trying to resolve this little time loop. One of the Vatican assassins has decided that he finally regrets having to go this path that although he's saving millions of people, maybe even billions, he's still killing to do it. And here comes this, high school kid from the 90s, by the way, this 90s high school kid who's like, I want to try to save my brother. I don't care about killing the guy. And they get kind of in the stories about them in a little time loop and them resolving the time loop. And that's kind of the beginning. It's the pilot episode, so to speak.
I'm hearing a lot of The Authority. You remember they had The Bleed, if you read that series, which was Space Between Worlds, and the ship that they lived on there. And I was reminded of something else because science fiction is filled with tropes. We're always going to say, "Oh yeah, I remember when this happened," kind of like that. There, it sounds like you guys have got things that are presented to your team that you either don't deal with because they're too complicated. And what I'm thinking of specifically here is kill Hitler. And did they fail to kill Hitler to prevent that atrocity, or can they only go forward from a certain point in time where they started? It's the logic I'm asking about how the
answer is if Hitler had a djinn forming in him, then they would have killed him or tried to. And since it's time and iteration, they may have already done it 100 times.
Right. It could have happened in another universe, and it didn't happen in this one yet. Or the djinn did not make it into our universe.
And so because atrocities do still happen, this is not a good guys always win, bad guys always lose situation. I would guess that sometimes, okay, we didn't win that one. We got another djinn.
Sometimes a whole iteration collapses. In fact, when you get into the extended story, you'll find that the Vatican assassins all come from an iteration that has collapsed.
Yeah, we definitely ride the gray area.
even just the it's almost a group of anti-heroes. The way it kind of tells itself, I don't know if it's like these are the heroes and they kill bad guys, but that is their idea of themselves. But it's like the actual practical execution of what they do kind of makes them more like anti-hero territory. And I think by as the story progresses, it seems to kind of point itself out as a messy process to do what they do. And it's not like it's like what do you call it? Like Batman in the most recent Batman movie, where things are kind of like raw and kind of janky.
Yeah. And the characters in this they're very flawed characters. And this teenager that's only, 16, 17 years old versus these immortal, 80, 90-year-old, assassins is supposed to contrast their kind of jaded existence. They've been only doing it this way for so long and it's the only way they know how to do it. And here comes this kid going, well, yep, you have a time machine, man. Can't you go the day before maybe and find out if this guy needs a hug? They're like, well, we never thought of that. We're here to kill the bad, And as the story, this particular story is, I know we're going to hold off on what it is, but 4 units. But after that, we want to go into this ongoing series where we really explore what it means to be able to intervene in some of these things.
And I love time travel stories, by the way. I've written some myself. I got to, I wrote a book for Telos. They used to do the Doctor Who novels before the BBC started the series up again. And they had Time Hunter the Sideways Door. And you're right. Go back in time and, give the guy a hug. I had these time travelers that were setting their world, their iteration of the world correct, but they had to keep doing it to keep it stable. And what they had done was they had gone back in time to the 1930s and had not killed Hitler, but killed the college chancellor that rejected his art application. So he gets into art school and follows an entirely different path.
Yeah, that's the same kind of thought process that this kid has. But there's some, he has to deal with. If you ever seen a kid come into a new project, they always have these great ideas, and then the older jaded guys are like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that, son." So it's like
that's never happened before.
that's the relationship. So
I can dig it. I can dig it. Okay, so the fact that there are iterations and time loops involved here is definitely going to contribute to the kind of story you guys are telling and in the way you're presenting it. So let's get into that. Exactly what is the product here? Because it's
I'll let you guys
not a comic book.
You guys go ahead.
So Vatican Assassins, I'd say, is the IP within this medium, and we kind of created both of those at the same time. So Vatican Assassins being the story, being the characters, the what, but the kind of where, I guess you'd call this whole thing, is called a comic scroll. And as you can kind of see on here, this is an 11 by 39 actual like scroll poster sort of thing.
It's huge.
That rolls out, and it has like basically the saga written out or drawn out and written out in this sort of, it's like multi-panel, but it doesn't fit into like one page. It's kind of like multiple pages spread across a scroll, and then the saga kind of continues in next scrolls, and on the edge of the scroll is going to be a QR code that takes you to a landing page, and the landing page is what provides more media. So the scroll itself is kind of step one of the whole thing, as you can see on Joe's screen there. This is the scroll itself.
Okay, so this is part physical medium, part digital medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the crossover is really what we wanted to focus on, because we know that digital is really the way that things are going now, but there's still this tactile satisfaction that we want to be able to deliver, so that this is just to feel more real, I guess. So this landing page is what has, the music that me and Shane have worked on, the videos that like show these images kind of with a little more movement. There's like voiceovers of like the characters talking, or narration to kind of like describe the story. There are character bios. There's like a RPG choose your own adventure game that takes you through like the history of one of the characters. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes into like not just the sequential order of how everything goes in the Vatican Assassins, but it really gives sort of deeper dives into the world of the Vatican Assassins. And that's kind of the point of the medium of comic scrolls, is to like give this sort of lore about everything.
Think of the comic scroll as just the first layer. And then as you get into it, look, storytelling isn't linear anymore. I mean, you can look at any big franchise and it's so deep. It's like an iceberg to, watch one episode or read one comic. And so what we wanted to do was, from the ground floor, started out with kind of a universe. We want to build the idea so that you can look back. And like he said, on the landing page, there's history. It's tied in with music. One of the other things we have, like in the Choose Your Own Adventure, we have loot. So if they read through, they can get digital loot. So that's something that, it's like a game. And
there's even password. I forgot about the password protected stuff too, is like there's certain things hidden around the website that like if you can
you get to figure out the password or the
yeah, so you figure out a password to open up something that's password protected.
Okay, so how did you guys come up with this idea of tying all of this together, and how many edibles were involved?
I guess that started with Joe, huh?
Yeah. So this was right around COVID. Right after as COVID was kind of dying out. I was doing webtoons. I'd done webtoons for a while, and I was trying a different route. I was doing some online production, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't making any money. I was feeling kind of haggard about it. And one of the things I tried to do to kind of, obviously I like to do innovative stuff. So I tried to talk to him. I talked to Nick about doing some music for another product I was working on, another IP. And we put this little music video together, and it was okay. It was really good. Actually, I really felt real positive once we were done with it. And I said, hey, you know what? We should just sit down and kind of figure it out, because
we should jam on an idea that like puts our skills together. That was kind of like the phrasing of.
But I was like, I wasn't making any money, and I was running up that hill, not making any money.
Get out of here.
And and so were they over with their band. And so I said, hey, these are very similar problems. Let's see if we can put our skill sets together and figure it out. I went with a model of what it's called a startup. Like it's the scientific method to figure out how you would start a company, and you get ready to pivot. You come up with ideas and you pivot. And so what we did is we really spent 3, maybe 4 months just hammering out, meeting every week. I would have them come down. They live in a town nearby. I bought a lot of Little Caesars. Yeah. And we
tools.
I'm like, yeah, free lunch, and it's Little Caesars. So it's like, I don't know how I don't feel like they owe me anything, but like it wasn't fancy food. Although one time we did do ribs. But we just jammed for like several months on what is the product, and we didn't have an answer.
It was like multiple meetings. We would like, I feel like it was a few months that like every now and then we'd be like, okay, so like, yeah, we can do this, and then be like, so we still don't actually know what this is. Like we don't know our product yet. And it was the weirdest feeling to be like, I don't know, in any creative capacity that at least I've ever been in, it's always been like, well, we're making songs, or okay, we're making pictures, or okay, we're making this or that. And this was like, we don't really know what this is. We're still trying to fuse these things into a thing.
And something from my college, one of my college counselors or a high school counselor, I don't remember which, they had this poster in their office. It was a Led Zeppelin poster, and it was, I don't know if it was like a wizard or something, or a Grim Reaper or something, but it had the lyrics to Stairway to Heaven on it. And if you're old enough, you might remember this poster.
I had the shirt, actually.
What was that?
I had the shirt of that.
Yeah.
Of that wizard.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I was like, well, can we do something like that? We'll put some lyrics on a poster. And then I'm like, I could really get some design in there. And then we could hang it on the wall, or we could do like a wall scroll. And then it became, from there, it evolved into scroll. And we had a pretty solid debate on whether it should be vertical or horizontal. And the other product we were working on was very horizontal. Very vertical. And then we started working on Vatican Assassins. And well, maybe I'll let Nick tell it.
Yeah, there was we were, I think, pretty adamant on doing it horizontal, and I think Joe was like this was somewhere in the beginning of having this thing, knowing that it was going to be a scroll, and we were like, let's do it like horizontal. And then Joe was like, it just makes more sense to do it vertical. And we were like, looking at the pros and cons, and we were like, all right, let's do it vertical. And then it had to be like another like month later or something. We were like working on this, and we're like, all right, how's the design going to go? And like, how do we want to do this? And Joe's like, hey, I decided to do it horizontal. And here's my mock-up of the horizontal. And we were like, what the hell? Like,
after you spent all the time convincing us to go vertical, it just went
We've
back
just
on
written
it.
a vertical story.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we decided to, I say we, but one of the reasons I had pushed to go horizontal originally, or vertical originally, was because, people could hang it on their wall. There's not a lot of wall space, and we all agreed that was good. But when I got down to actually kind of converting some comic pages into this, because Vatican Assassins was originally a 10-page promo I hadn't really done much with. When we actually started, cut and pasting and putting this in, it wasn't really making any sense. I want to be able to make it a trade paperback at some point also, like maybe combine several scrolls into a trade paperback. And so trying to figure out how to make that sequential art or take advantage of some of the flow of telling the story was getting real difficult. So I did end up without consulting, and thank goodness everybody was cool about it. But yeah.
We gotta, I mean, that's another one of those things, like, it's just like this crashes and burns if we're like, no, screw you, you suck, or let's just keep doing my ideas and stuff. Like it doesn't seem sustainable if we don't.
There's got to be a team, yeah.
Yeah, and like I mavericked that one, but they get a free Maverick at some point,
Yeah.
All right, I'm saving that.
Oh yeah, that's in the back pocket for sure.
I mean, you just gotta, everybody's got to work together. And honestly, when I finally explained myself out, they were like, "Okay, that makes more sense."
So the scroll, it's still pages though, isn't it? I mean, it's like, here's a standard page, read it left to right, up, down to the right, and then there's a demarcation that is the next page. So it's not like you roll it out and it's the Bayou Tapestry where, you can read all the way across here and you double back and you get back here, you double back, go this way.
Well, honestly, we could do that. That's actually one of the benefits of this format is we could turn one horizontal. We could make it we could make it a big square. We could make the one scroll to the next scroll, do whatever we want. We could put arrows just to indicate where it goes. And this was the greatness of this product is you can really do some cool, like, ongoing sequential panel, So,
yeah.
And the way we do it on the scroll is, if I can just kind of show that there, you can see. Oops, that's upside down.
It is upside down, though.
Yeah, you can see that I have all the panels floating on a background.
Okay, yeah.
So they're floating on a background, and when you, like, this one here, like, breaks the gin. That's a gin right there, by the way. And that one there, you can see as it's kind of sort of breaking the paneling on the sides.
I get it. Yeah. Okay. So, but it's going to be left to right, and you read it in segments. As if you really wanted to, like, I don't know what you have to do. I think sacrifice goats or something to go the full Alan Moore on this. You'd have, like, here's the scroll. Here's the first scroll, and you read it, and then you put it on your wall or whatever. And here's the second scroll, and you put it under the first one. But now you've got a totally different path that tells a totally different story with all the same panels. But
that's for the next one.
Yeah, and that's like, you got to get shamans involved in that to figure out how to plot it all out.
So there's a lot in the development of this product that, like, this isn't just, hey, I have an idea, let's throw it on a scroll. We had to look at shipping. We had to look at how much shipping is going to cost. What's the shipping cost? And that determined how much the size was. We wanted to be able to put this product in stores. So we had to be able to make sure that we could print these things. 39 inches is the max printer that most of the printers that we looked at was able to do. We had to make sure that it was affordable so that I want this product to be affordable more than anything else. I want this to be able to be bought either right now on Kickstarter, but eventually in stores. And I'm not going to replace comics, but I do want this product to be accessible to people. I want the stories to get out there. Yeah. And so the poster format is honestly, it's a little bit cheaper than actually putting together a book. You go back to digital so we can get the depth. Like, you're not going to get as much art on that as you would in a 40-page graphic novel, but it doesn't cost as much either. And so you go back to that landing page, and I don't want to like gloss over the music. It is worth every dime that you would spend on this scroll to listen to those tracks. We are designing these tracks so it's not supposed to be just like, hey, just listen to this track while you're reading the comic. These tracks are supposed to stand on their own. The first ones we have in here, and again, this is all experimental, but the first ones we have in here are a voiceover. And then the second one is the actual one we use in a commercial, which tells you about it. So that these tracks are all original music, all original score, and they're designed to be part of the storytelling process, to create the mood, to create the feeling. And as we go on in the future, we'll create specific soundtracks or songs 4 characters, with the ultimate goal being to like be able to like kind of push it as an album. Even if you don't read the comic, you still might buy the album.
So you don't have to have the entire set of stuff to enjoy the experience of it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you can kind of like have any piece of it, and then that can kind of lead you into other pieces of it, and it all kind of. And that's, I think, the benefit of not having it as this is a whole like sequential thing, but rather these are bits and pieces of a world.
So when you said earlier that you were going to reproduce this later on as a trade paperback, what's the plan there to reconstruct this? I mean, is it going to be a typical paperback, or is each page going to be a folded up scroll like an old Rand McNally atlas?
Oh, that'd be cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it really kind of depends upon what the market can bear and what the costs are. But it wouldn't be a standard trade paperback. It'd be a was it 7? I forgot what the number was, but it's basically a legal pad folded over. So what, 11 by 14 or 8.5 by 14, right?
Okay.
So whatever that is folded over, that was the box that we were using. Because if we do a trade paperback, we also want that to stand out. We want to literally poke out of the shelf.
Well, it definitely will. I'm getting what you guys are going for here, and my mind is like reeling in all other directions, because this is one of the things I do on the show is like I have a trademark phrase is like, you know what you ought to do. And I've already got one in mind, since you guys are going this mixed physical digital route. Have you guys heard of ArtVive?
No.
Wait, that sounds familiar.
It's ARTVIVE, and it's an app that you get on your phone, which does absolutely nothing unless you have a physical product in your hand. Like, we'll probably actually do it on this comic book, because I know my buddies Alan Dunford and Will Radford do it a lot on their comics. If you load up ArtVive and then you look at the picture through the phone, it comes alive. It does this whole animated.
That is sick.
Oh yeah, one of my associates is an AR specialist, so we are looking at that right now. Because what he'll be able to do is he'll be able to add in with the phone, but we're not there yet. We want to make sure we can at least produce it in the first place. So
yeah, you can
read
right, the whole
right,
scroll read the whole scroll through the AR. In fact, you could have an entire scroll of just art. There's no dialogue unless you look at it through the AR, and then you see the word balloons.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Ideas, I throw them out. they stick to the wall sometimes, and sometimes people run away from them because they stink.
That was a good one.
That's a good idea.
It's probably so expensive too. But,
well, having talked to him, it's not in our immediate future, but it's definitely something we want to do. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is take the physical look. In order for comic stores will go out of business if we don't have things for them to sell, right? Yeah. And so if we create a product that, digital is the way of the future, so you've got to have a product to connect it. By having the store, you have a better place for merch, you have a better place for community. This is really part of my idea, is to keep the stores alive. I don't know that they need my help, but
well, the thing with digital and stores is that you've now got something where the store is selling a physical product that connects to a digital, rather than digital doing an end run around the retailer.
Yeah,
a lot like the that Batman comic did, that sold digital skins for whatever that game was. I don't play the game, so I don't know. I'm old. I'm a boomer. And what scares me is I know
Fortnite's got.
Yeah, Fortnite. What scares me is I knew the name of the game and I just couldn't remember it off the top of my head, and I was going to kind of stumble past it, rather than admit my early onset Alzheimer's. But yeah, that they'll have the product there, so they've got something to sell. They make some money, and people are still getting digital comics.
But see, digital is important too, because it gives ease of access to people. So I don't, I'm a web designer by day. That's my day job, and I know a lot about how the internet works. And there's a business to have an online magazine also, but I think the physical property has to be connected to it. There's just something about holding something in your hands that is got more that tactile response.
It's like Stan Lee possibly apocryphally said, but it's still attributed to him, and nobody said he didn't say it. Comics are like boobs. Seeing them on the computer is one thing. Holding them in your hands is quite another.
Stanley.
I
just
need to
picturing
find
him
that
saying
quote.
that.
Hey, so I'll ask you a question. We've been on a couple podcasts now, and this always comes up because in the indie comics industry, there does seem to be a pervasive trope, which is the cover always has some boobage on it. Our main female character is like, she would not approve of that. She's a pretty heavy feminist in her own right, so she would, if we were to say, hey, the character's name is Rana Dar, if we were to say, hey Rana, you want to be on the cover, boobage and everything, she would definitely kill me. But what's your opinion on that? Is it worth it to sell? Because not all indie comics do that.
Only if it's what the indie comic is. If your indie comic is Lady Death, then yeah, it makes sense. One of the most successful indie comics that I read is Miskatonic High, and it's about a bunch of high school students who are, going through Lovecraftian horror while attending high school, and they're not really sure which one is worse. And if any one of them would show up with boobage on the cover, first of all, it would be grossly offensive because they're high school kids.
Yeah.
So if your character has boobage in the book, then they can have boobage on the cover. If they don't, stay true to your story.
Mm-hmm.
Good. What we don't have covers yet. We're trying to figure that actual problem out, because some of the challenges of this particular product. We went into a comic book store, and it wasn't to like show off our product. It was to take the product in and go, where would you put this? Like, how would you sell this in this store? And we were debating that at the house, and I'm like, Nick, let's just go to the comic book store and ask. So we did. And it was cool because when we unrolled that scroll, everybody was like, whoa, and that nothing makes my head bigger than, in person, people telling me how great my art is,
Sure.
But, yeah, we did that, and we went in there, and it was amazing response. But, there was this challenge to go, well, where would you put this? And nobody really had a good answer at present. So we've come up with some kind of like some ideas for it, but it is the challenge because I don't have a cover. It doesn't in itself have a cover.
What would you see? Now that brings me back to you were talking about trying to keep it down for shipping. Obviously, this has got to go out in a tube.
Mm-hmm.
But what does the owner store it in? No one's going to keep the original mailing tube. It's going to get beat up by the post office. It's going to get marked up. Does it have its own packaging?
In this iteration of it, this is our first one, our first Kickstarter. We still got to prove ourselves. It's going to be the shipping tube or the the container it comes in. But what we hope to do is with the additional Kickstarters, as we go through and start telling more and more Vatican assassin stories, we've been looking at getting custom printed cardboard containers, or maybe even certain like castings or tins that we can put it in, something to give it that more scroll feel. We're talking about some people are interested in maybe having like some wooden dowels that we could, open the scroll with. So there's a lot of stuff.
That would be cool. Yeah, clamp it and then roll it out.
Yeah.
My ex had a lot of crafting materials. She had a closet dedicated to it. She had this thing that was plastic, and it stood up. It was about hip high, and it was nothing but for putting in rolls of wrapping paper, and they were just all standing in that one thing. Something scaled down that could maybe sit on a shelf, top of a shelf, certainly not in the middle of the shelf, unless maybe.
But I think it's a whole area of merch that we could get out there and get people to explore with. And we don't know yet. Again, it's new, and we're this is our first one. So
as much as we're researching, I feel like we're taking suggestions as well. Just like whenever somebody's like, oh, maybe you could like have it like somebody was saying that we could have like a tin for it, and like that would be more appealing for collectors. And it was like, yeah, okay, like that sounds good. But also it's like those, we can't do that for this one. That would be like one or two down the road. Like
too late now. Yeah,
we got to figure.
Yeah, like those Caroline cookies that come in a round tin, a tube tin, or Pringles.
Yeah. Something like you can get those custom printed, and they could have like important like information on them, or once we do figure those are the challenges for the next Kickstarter. Right now, we're just trying to make sure that people want comic scrolls, and so far we've had a pretty good response. So
yeah, it's definitely unique, and it looked like when you held it up that was almost looked laminated.
That one there is a special gloss print that we I just went down to the local print shop and had it printed up. The actual final ones will be a little bit thinner, and they'll be more like what you would get with a poster. So if you're going to go to a store and buy a poster, it'd be similar to that.
They will be a little shiny, though.
They will be shiny. Yeah, we're going with gloss on them.
So as a collector, what I'm seeing now is, how do I keep this in as good a condition as possible? You unroll a poster and roll it back up so many times, you start to get that crinkle and like, oh, I rolled it too fast. And then you get caught. And it, didn't.
Well, so here's one of the cool things is because we're cost effective on these, we can probably come in cheaper and you can get one for your wall and one to store.
Okay, there you go.
And they are cheap enough, yeah. I guess.
Yeah, we've got these. Although our Kickstarter price isn't as low as I wanted it to be because it's very difficult to do a store competitive price. I'm hoping these things come in between $3 and $5 if they come into the store.
Yeah, and suddenly I'm wondering how you could get a scroll holder. And by that, what I mean is I've seen these things. I don't know what you would call them, so I don't even know how to Google it. But you see a guy unfolds a scroll and he reads it like this.
Yeah.
Well, the top is the tube, and along the side of the tube is the slice where you pull the scroll out, and it's rolled up inside the tube. As soon as you're done reading, it just kind of retracts back in by a spring loader.
Yeah.
And so they do have
all the way in because there's a stick at the end of the scroll.
Those are right now. If you wanted to buy one, it's a pen. It's a pen with a map in it. Like those are the first ones. But once we start moving forward, that's definitely on the table too. In the meantime, I think what our next level is maybe to get something similar to like. I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons player, and so I bought in so many dice in a dice tube. So that might be our next step is like a clear acrylic tube or maybe a tube with some kind of branding on it.
Yeah, you could print stickers and just put it on the side of the tube.
Exactly.
That was my best guess was like especially because of thinking, if we have down the road like 1,000 of these to print, it's like we can't be the ones to like order all of these and then we slap in a sticker on 1,000 scrolls.
We're looking at it. I've got a friend who works in China. He English translator over there, and he works with a large printing companies, and so they're a little more experienced in trying to develop a product. So I've kind of been Facebooking back and forth with him. So I don't have the answer. We're a startup. We're developing, but right now we do have this really cool product, and I'm hoping that people will dig it, expand this frontier.
What's the what would you rate your story as far as the Motion Picture Association of America?
I think it's so we want to do a little bit of the Cronenberg, body horror in there. We got pictures of guys getting exploded and there's guns and stuff. So I definitely PG-13 at the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more mature of a title then.
Yeah.
You could always
is Cronenberg is Rick and Morty.
Okay, cool. Because here's the never admitted to secret in the indie comics world. That booby thing that we talked about, that works just as well on body horror as it does on sexy women. So if you wanted to have a djinn showing some boobage, and it could be like 3 of them while somebody's being disemboweled, that counts. That counts. But again, if it doesn't show up in your story, if you put boobage on the cover and there's no boobage inside, people get mad. It's like getting non-alcoholic beer when you pick up a Budweiser on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We've wondered how important it is for like in terms of like selling, because I mean we kind of have a reference point because there is a comic aspect to this. These are illustrations at the end of the day. They're comic illustrations. But it is like this question I think we've had of like, is that what is gonna sell, or is like can we do this without that? Is it gonna hurt us to not have that in there? And because it's like we don't really want to focus on that especially because the story is about like intense themes and like time travel. Like we really want the sci-fi stuff. We don't. It's not like
I want to be more Matrix than Witchblade.
Okay, well, then lean into that on the covers. I mean, I know that the marketing definition I was taught that advertising is a picture of a beautiful, half-clad, sexy woman eating, drinking, writing, reading, smoking, sitting on, laying on, wearing something that you want to sell to other people, and comics is no exception. But again, it's not as popular as people might think it is.
I when I was inspired as a kid to, who were my inspirational artists, and you got Frank Frazetta was one of the big ones, and he had some very very feminine, beautiful. I don't know the term for it, but they were solid women, like the
Rubenesque.
Yeah, I mean these Conan covers. I remember going, oh, I wish I could draw like that, So yeah, Frank Frazetta is definitely one of my inspirations growing up.
So I'm down to the tiers here on the campaign. So let's talk about what people actually get if you're going to get into this Kickstarter. Which, by the way, I keep failing to forget, is right below the video. Click on it; you'll go right to it. So for $7, you get a PDF version of the scroll, and then an MP3. And a digital poster. So the PDF that's the scrollable version of what would the print copy be?
Yeah, basically, yeah, you can look at it in desktop or mobile and actually scroll through the scroll.
And then the QR code would be at the end of that.
Yeah. Well, in a PDF, we'd probably just put the link, but yeah, QR code could be in there. It's probably going to be in there, but we'll probably have a link available because you can do that in a PDF. And
then for $10, this is when you get the print. This is the 11 by 39. So that's longer than a yardstick, folks. It's big. It's Nightwing just did this. Not on a scroll, and I haven't seen the book itself. But they made a big deal about how it was one long panel. You just turned the page and it was like a continuation of the previous page, and it's just running along the rooftops the whole time.
That's kind of cool.
Like a flip book almost.
Should have done a scroll.
They should have done a scroll. I'm glad they didn't, because then I was going to say like, oh, we're
not the world's first. But yeah, as far as I can tell, we're the world's first comic scroll, if you discount like the ancients, because they were kind of making comic scrolls too.
This is true. They were carving it onto the wall too.
Like, their artwork was like really subpar though compared to Joe's. I feel like
oh man, don't say that. I'm gonna have ancient Egyptian gods hunting me down there. Oh, that's a new scroll.
Add to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the medieval monks, they were on acid or something.
Yeah, right.
It was like
we need to add in a tier there then, where like for $10,000, I'll come to your house and put a fresco of the scroll on your wall.
Somebody said that.
Yeah, we'll just wallpapered across the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, medieval monks. I saw one today. Was like it was a rabbit riding a dog, holding up his arm with a falconer's glove on and a snail sitting on it. I'm like,
oh my god,
that looked like something you'd find on Tumblr after somebody had a trip. But it was real. It was literal medieval artwork. I'm like, what's the story behind this? I need to know.
Oh, man. There's some amazing tapestries that come from that period and paintings from the Renaissance that are mind-bending. Cronenberg inspiring.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so the physical copy is for $10. You're going to get this 11 by 39 scroll,
and that's a great price for Kickstarter. Because usually it's $20.
Yeah, I mean your regular comic is going to be $25, and then shipping gets thrown onto that. And then you jump right into the
beauties of this is that we can create a much more accessible product.
I think it's going to be first. People are going to jump into it, say, okay, I've never seen something like this before. I want to be in on it. Next is going to be keeping them. That's the big hook there. The story has to bring them back. The experience has to be unique enough that they want to continue it. So that, and you're not going to know that until you've done the first one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the tier 3, if you want to be one of the first retailers to carry Vatican Assassin, 10 of them for $65. So that's $6.50 each. Huge
allows them to
discount.
do the resale on it.
Yeah. So obviously they want to make some money back on it. And this includes a 1 hour. I love this. This is a 1 hour question and question session. No answers are promised here. It's a Q&Q for your clients via Zoom to help promote. And then the posters are shipped in bulk. So it is it's a poster, it's a banner, it's a scroll. And what is a big time fan person version? This
I don't even remember which one of us wrote that.
You did.
Yeah, that sounds like a you phrase.
That's a Joe phrase.
It might
it's
have
kind
been.
of numbered.
Well, if you were to get everything that's sitting there, that's like $275. And I wanted to do a big one, because like you gotta kind of throw that one in there that you don't think people will do just to get, just to put it on there. But we actually had like 4 or 5 people do that, so I was pretty surprised. But this one is you get a fabric version of it, and you get the prototype on fabric.
Ooh, fabric! Now you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going real ancient OG scroll.
Yeah. Now the fabric ones are a lot more expensive to produce, but when I'm talking about this one here has the nice gloss sheen on it. So that's one of the things that we were worried about when you lose the fabric is we'll use it. But this is the prototype you'll get. You'll get one of these poly printed, high gloss, really thick ones. That's what will when you're getting that prototype, you're getting. Actually, they have the actual prototype one. That's actually almost the finished product, but the prototype one doesn't have a lot of the script on it. It has like sample fonts on it, sample font size, sample color swatches.
Now, you know where you went wrong, because I know that the printers that print the comics and stuff that 39 inches is the longest side of paper they've got, but the people who don't print books, but who print contact paper and wallpaper strips, they print bigger.
Yeah, they do actually.
That's true.
Yeah, you make it good. You make a damn good point there.
We'll have to have a wallpaper version.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, the large print for the people with weak eyes.
Yeah, that's true too. It'd have to be like
when we go into one-offs, like if it's just a one-off product, we can print a 40-foot one if we wanted to. But one, I don't think I could draw that. And two,
you don't have to draw it. You raster it, and then it just upscales.
I don't know. Yeah, that might not work. The print on that is, again, when we were first trying to figure this out, a lot of the focus was on can we make it affordable. And so when we go out of that 49 inch or we go into the fabric range, because fabric was right there, right up front. Shane was like, fabric, got to have it. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive. That's just the problem with it. It's it's too much per unit to, unless you're going to pay $100, and if you are, hey, we'll print it for you. We'll print it and ship it. Enjoy it, please.
But we can fold that up and put it in our drawer, and it's kept away nice and neat.
That is that one you can fold. The advantages of it.
Yeah.
Dang, I forgot what I was going to say now. This is weird for me because I'm used to dealing with, forgive the expression, real comic books, and I know the things that go with them. Since you guys are branching out into all these different digital variations and physical variations, I was taken by the. I'm going to have to show the overlay again, so we're all going to be disappearing. The design behind the Vatican Assassins here, and I'm thinking, wouldn't that make a really cool game board or tabletop?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you would do with it, but
we'll see. Gaming is
time to create a game.
Yeah, gaming is part of it. So one of the things we do have on here is we have a choose your own adventure, and that comes from my love for Dungeons and Dragons and those types of RPG games, which I might frequently do, maybe.
And then
every Saturday. But the choose your own adventure game is it it's one of those ones where if you dive into that, you learn a lot more about the characters. And for each scroll, we're going to do a different character. So for this first campaign, we've got Cass Kepler. He lives in the Jovian superstructure somewhere, 500, 600 years in the future. This massive ring that they're building around Jupiter. And, it's his story. Their civilization's in collapse. They're about to have an atrocity. And that's how he ends up joining the Vatican assassins. If you go through it and you get the proper endings, you get loot too. So we haven't decided if we're going to limit the quantity on it, but if you go through, you may get, and you get the right ending, you'll get a poster, a free PDF download of the poster.
Okay. I was wondering what digital assets would be, unless you have a digital world that people would populate.
And I also might have D20 versions of each of the characters.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
Role-playing game stats for them.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So depending upon the digital loot, you'll get either a poster or maybe like a link to a few like a short 1 or 2 page story that kind of supplements it. So the digital loot is meant to expand the universe. It's not needed to enjoy the comic or enjoy the music, but it's there if for that kid that kind of likes to dig down, that kid that wants to do the research, who's on that Easter egg hunt. And there's Easter eggs through everything. So we have like in the music, Nick has painstakingly learned some Latin to, we have some Latin phrasing in there in his Cries of Time that it foreshadows a thing that won't be until the next set of scrolls. So if you come back to it, you'll see it there. You're like, oh man, I know Latin. I've got that one.
Yeah. It took 3 years of it. Agricola Espuela.
I was translating Latin and then singing it, singing in Latin in the song.
Now, do you sing it or do you Gregorian chant it? Because it demands.
I Gregorian chanted it.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it's beautiful.
I did a Gregorian
listen to the song. It's a beautiful song. He took elements when I first talked to him. I was talking about time travel and all these crazy ideas, and so he immediately linked on to my 1980s feature movie action movie hero sequence. And you hear these like elements of like the Terminator in there, and you hear some elements of like I feel like the Omen, but he said that wasn't it.
That wasn't where I drew inspiration, at least. That was
and the music's just beautiful. So I both the tracks that we have for this are just outstanding. And you heard the first track in the intro in the ad. That's Shane's work there.
And there's definitely more coming too. So it's going to be cool. One for each of the characters.
So given the D&D inspiration behind all this, do you have 3D renderings of your characters to which someone could take to a 3D printer and make the miniatures?
So that's one of those things that would be a down the road thing. We just don't have the resources right now or the time because we still have day jobs.
It was also like spending the first 5 months coming up with what are we doing, and then the next sequential months being okay, how do we make the thing? And I think there's a lot of after the facts, like hearing stuff like this, now that we've put this thing out there, people are saying these great ideas, just the 3D model, and then you can 3D print. It's that's a great idea, and it's among all of the chaos of trying to create this, I feel it's oh, we should have thought of that.
Yeah, just before the show, I was like, man, we just next time. We're just gonna say that a lot, I think, from this point forward.
We're writing all of these down. Every time someone says something that we're oh, that's a good idea, it's just we're writing these down because it's
and there's pretty powerful marketplaces for 3D stuff like that, for 3D printing of maquettes or figures or whatever. And those marketplaces like Shapeways, Daz Studio, huge marketplaces.
I know a guy who does the print for several different campaigns. That's his job. Just sit and watch the printers and watch them print out. The scrolls, they are singularly sided.
For now.
Are you thinking about double-sided scrolls? I mean,
absolutely.
you could
Absolutely.
A map on the back, or a full-length figure poster, a door poster.
Yeah.
Of,
Absolutely. It's
I'm
just that
thinking-
right now it's more about a cost and logistics thing.
Especially the way it like presents in like a retail perspective. It's like when you roll that up, if it could have an image already on there, then that would be great to have that like presented on the outside, and then even some other kind of like artwork or scripture, something on the back. And I think it is just a matter of logistics and cost right now.
And look, man, the great thing I like about this is it's new and it can go in all kinds of different directions.
Yes, it's you guys are trailblazing,
Yay.
and we're going to find out who follows you. Have you gotten? I mean, you've been on different shows. What's the general feedback when they realize this isn't a comic book, this is a scroll? How do they deal with that sudden shift of paradigm?
It's been surprisingly, like, overwhelmingly positive. People seem very, very interested in it. And one of the shows we were on, their chat is known for just tearing indie comic artists apart, just like ripping them to shreds. And nobody said a single negative thing the entire time. So even the host was very shocked.
Okay, so shell shocked, but in a good way.
Yeah.
The fun part was when people see it in person, and I can't understate that panoramic size, with the images right in front of you. We went, when we printed it up at the printer, we went to go do some test prints of this, and just the whole crowd at Staples was just, they came around, they looked, they asked questions. Everyone had that like, wow. I mean, wow was the word they said the most. Same thing when we took it to the comic book store. We took it there, we unraveled it, and I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to pitch this right now. I have some questions. And I kind of, opened it up to, it wasn't like, take a look at this. I was just like, hey, this is what we're doing. And like all the staff and people came and checked it out, and everybody, again, that wow factor to it. So
yeah, there's something new under the sun today, and we're here to witness it. All right. Seemed like I had one more question. It's not coming to me, so I'm going to say, must not have been important. So if I scroll up to the top, I did not record the numbers at the beginning of the show, but I'm going to say that it probably didn't. Yeah, it's still $460 needed, which means I did not help you guys at all, and I profusely apologize for that.
We'll get it when they watch it later.
It's 12 days to go in the campaign, and this is the Dust Bowl era of any Kickstarter. It's those last 3 days when it's going to kick back up again, and you'll make $450, $500, no problem.
Hopefully, man. We're again, it's our first one, so we're biting our nails on this one.
Yeah, well, that's how they go. It's like day one, yes, I'm in on it, and then like, okay, I got in on it, and then it's almost over. I better throw my money in.
Interesting.
So you could run a 5-day Kickstarter and just condense both those sides together and skip the middle. But I kid.
We're pretty close. I feel like we have a good chance of being successful on this one.
I have no doubt that you will be, and I hope that you are, and that you continue to be successful.
I would say that the stuff that's holding us, if you're people who are considering, maybe buying the comic scroll, I think that the concerns would be, well, these guys have never done anything before. We've never, seen it. Am I throwing my money away? Will we ever see the product? And
if you fund it,
yeah. You see, one of the other things, real big lesson I learned in this is doing indie comics by yourself is really, really tough. And when I brought these guys in, it really changed the dynamic. And I was raised on, if you build it, they will come. But this new generation here is all about networking and teamwork, and the digital aspects aren't really something one person can do. So now it's, if you build it, or if we build it, they will fund. Yeah,
that's how it is. And like I said, it's new. It's taking some adoption. I think you'll have a lot of people that'll adopt it early on, just to see, this could be the next Funko Pop.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the next Pog. We don't know, but we're going to be there first to find out.
In my research, I came across Pog containers because they were tubes.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man,
Nice to have one of those.
we'd be just as good as Pogs, but stay forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody had Pogs. I never played the game, but I had all
It was
these
a
cardboard
1990s
discs.
like 5-minute fad. It lasts for about a year or two, and then it was gone.
I didn't even know there was a game behind it. I just collected all the bunch of Pogs that were all over the place. I was just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was like tiddlywinks of a kind. It's like you're supposed to stack them all up
Mm,
and then throw your Pog at the stack of Pogs, and whatever you knocked over, you got to keep.
that's cool. I like that.
It's like marbles.
Mhm.
And
But
we just
three-dimensional.
reinvent the old games in new ways. So you'd want to put your really good Pogs on the bottom of the stack.
Well, if I only am as good as the Pogs, we'll be so happy.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Do appreciate it. This has been fun. I love seeing new things and meeting new people. And I hope that we will get to see you guys again for Scroll 2. I almost said Issue 2, but we'll say Scroll number 2.
I'm definitely hoping that that one goes smooth. I think it's going to be smoother than this one because of how much we've
Already figured out
along the way. But yeah, thank you so much for having us on here, RJ.
Yeah, everyone will get better because you'll learn from the last one.
Yeah.
More things to do. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you. Want to remind you to pop on over to the mic stand already in progress, where Mike Walters is going over the niche news of the day in comics, anime, manga, and professional wrestling. I don't know why they go together for him. They just do. So pop on over there, take care of that. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.